But it felt a little more solid to me to be. Of course, no one's going to. The army hasn't been found yet that would draft someone like myself. I mean, not even the good soldier Schmeich. But as a matter of principle, and also that I should be voting and eligible for jury duty and all the other, both duties and entitlements. So I didn't feel comfortable till I'd got that done.
Did you vote in this last election?
I did. I turned up early.
You want to tell us who you voted for?
I voted for the senator from Illinois.
Why?
Well, I'm not any longer a registered member of any party and don't have any ideological allegiance any longer, and in a way McCain's position on the war was more close to my own, but I thought Obama would learn more about the war than McCain had. McCain's position was actually rather an eccentric one about Afghanistan and about Iraq. I thought Obama showed signs of having the right stuff on this. I have to say, as an admirer of Senator McCain's, I thought he was too, how do I put this without being impolite? I mean, too exhausted to be running for anything, frankly. And that his choice of running mate was quite simply ridiculous. No, much worse than ridiculous. Insulting. Not serious. I didn't think a serious vote could be cast for the Republican ticket on this occasion. So that made that bit easy. And then, I suppose I've thought for a long time, the United States has been ready for ages to prove that it will vote for a qualified black candidate. Let's get this done. I didn't think there was anything very surprising about it. I mean, all through the year people were saying things like, oh, the Bradley effect will kick in. Even if the Bradley effect doesn't, the polling machines will be fixed. If the polling machines aren't fixed, then someone will take a rifle and take the brother down. And so, no. Very interesting and impressive to see how easily it got done and how natural it seemed when it was. And though I didn't get as emotional and moist about that as some people did, it was an ingredient in making it a pleasure to vote for him. That plus, I like him as a writer, I should say. I like the way he talks, I like the way he writes. I'm impressed by his just command of English, which is the thing that matters to me the most.
Did you read his 2 books?
I did, yeah.
What did you think of them?
Well, I thought the first one was much better because it was written when he didn't know he was going to be a politician. And the second one is written under the awful knowledge that he's now in play. But even given that, you can tell he's written it himself. He's taking the risks of making various commitments he'll have to live up to. And he's got a sense of humor, sense of irony, and a really, very, really admirable grasp of the language that means the most to me.
The day we're recording this, your name came up on the morning call-in show.
It did.
Before we show the clip, I don't think I'd ever expected you to be a fellow at the Hoover Institution. How did that happen at Stanford? And politically, how did that happen?
Well, the Hoover Institution is very, very, very serious about war and revolution. That's what it's founded to consider. And war and revolution, war and counter-revolution, are the great subjects at present, or among them. Well, they're never not, but they're particularly salient now. And I've taken, I don't think a very forward position, but a very determined one, that we are at war, and that we're at war with a totalitarian enemy, and that part of our study must be how to train not just soldiers but citizens in how to fight in this war.
Are you still a fellow there?
I'm what they call a media fellow, visiting fellow. I mean, I'm the Roger Mertz visiting fellow, which means that I go and talk to potential journalism students. I go and talk about literature with people there, if necessary about politics too. But I regard it as one of the academic and intellectual arsenals of the country.
Here, Mark Thiessen's a Hoover fellow. Let's listen to what he said about you this morning.
He underwent waterboarding to see what it feels like, to prove that it was torture. In so doing, he proved it was not torture. A common sense definition of torture is, if you're willing to try it to see what it feels like, it's not torture. So if I told the Christopher Hitchens, I'm going to pull your teeth out with a plier, see what it feels like, would you try it? He wouldn't try it. I said, I'm going to pull your fingernails off to see what it feels like to try it. Would you try it? No, you wouldn't try it. I'm going to put electrodes on your body and put a few 100,000 or 1,000 volts through your body. Would you try it? No.
Yes, I know what he means. I mean, there's another trapdoor, if you like, underneath my journalistic investigation of self-investigation of waterboarding, which is I knew when I went in that I could stop it at any time by making a special signal to my torturers and self-torture. But there was only one way I felt I could advance the argument, which is to see, roughly speaking, what it's like. And, for example, in reply to Mr. Thiessen, I would say, you've heard this said, I'm sure, waterboarding simulates drowning, or the feeling of drowning. It doesn't do that at all. You are being drowned, just in slow motion. Everything in you immediately rebels against that. It's a survival question. Aha.
Where is that?
Is that the porpoise-like figure of...
that is you.
That is somewhere in the mountains of eastern North Carolina with a group of people who, a team of people who have had, let's say, field experience of this.
What's this feel like right here when they're pouring water down?
Well, it feels as if your last breath is about to be drawn, and your whole, you don't really have any choice in the matter. You have to, everything rebels. You have to make it stop as fast as you can. My second reply to Mr. Thiessen would be,
You're just now saying I've had enough.
I think that's pretty much, yeah. They say that Khalid Sheikh Mohammed lasted for something like 90 seconds. I'd be very surprised if that was true, unless he was trying to get us to kill him.
And they also say they did it hundreds of times.
Yes, yeah, that's remarkable. The other reply I'd make to Mr. Thiessen on this point, because he's making a very serious one. After all, I was ready to do it again, and because I felt so bad about having lasted so little, I felt any Hitchens, any son of Commander Hitchens of the Royal Navy, should be able to stand up a bit more than that. So I made them do it to me again, and I lasted a bit longer this time. But, and you could say again, well, if you could stand it for 2 times, it's not torture. But the United States has always said of any regime that uses it on an American, that it is torture, and that if we catch the person who did it or ordered it, we'll seek the death penalty, and has done so several times. So that it's not a matter of whether it's medieval or not, fingernail pulling, the rack and so forth, because if you allow these things, and if you say you must do them because there's a ticking bomb, or if you allow this thing, excuse me, you must do it because there's a ticking bomb, the guy's a terrorist, then what's to stop you saying, well, bring on the red-hot poker or the pincers?
So put all this in a context right now. What do you think of where the Obama administration is on this, the memos, and you know, what would you do about the past?
Well, at the same time I was taking my oath at the Jefferson Memorial to become an American citizen, I was a member of and by the way, with me was a young Marine as a witness. I wanted him, a friend of mine who'd been in Anbar province, crushing the life out of Al-Qaeda, which turned out to be a successful campaign. Very proud to have been a supporter of it, and of General Petraeus and the Sir. But at the same time, I was a member, named member, of a lawsuit brought by the American Civil Liberties Union against the National Security Association, against the NSA, and, on illegal wiretapping. I was one of the 8 plaintiffs. And it seems to me that that's what it is in a way to be an American. That you have the right to, in fact the duty to do that, and to question the way the government is fighting your war, or treating you as a citizen, even if you're strongly in favor of every measure that's taken to resist and combat terrorism, Islamization, and the totalitarian regimes that have in the past supported or underwritten it.
So right now, what should this town do about what happened in the Bush administration?
Well, I mean, I'm not a friend of the CIA, as you know, and that would have been the young Hitchens who you just saw back there, the one with the fringe and the Socialist International.
The kid.
Yeah, the kid would I'm proud of what he was saying about the Central Intelligence Agency. I mean, this is an agency that gave away Nelson Mandela's whereabouts and identity to the South African police when they couldn't find him, let him in for 25 years of imprisonment. That was the CIA. Murdered the elected, or helped to murder the elected president of Chile. Countless other horrible crimes in Greece, Uruguay, Cyprus, elsewhere. Not only that, these are criminal things, but repeatedly told us that the Soviet Union was an economic superpower right up till '89, that it was entering its golden age, and so on. It was a fantastically successful country when it was falling to pieces. George Tenet, on the day of 9/11, said to former Senator Boren, the first thing our head of intelligence said on that day was, looking at the towers go down and the planes fly in, he said, it's quoted in Woodward's book directly. He says, I hope it's not those guys from the flight schools in the Midwest, who he knew about and hadn't done anything about. So they try and cover their traces and their failures and their betrayals by torturing people. So they can say, hey, we've got results at last. This will not do. We can't have that. So someone has to go down for this, I think. I think the CIA should be closed and padlocked anyway and should be restarted. I don't think it's even susceptible to reform.